Today we will be talking about energy cooperativism, those participatory spaces in which local businesses, residents and city councils make joint decisions regarding their own energy needs. Marta Lora Tamayo, Professor of Administrative Law at UNED, and Antonio Lopez, Professor of Social Work, will interview Bosco Valero, educator and expert in energy communities. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to yet another radio program, or as the moderns say, another podcast from the participatory group, which is the agreement between UNED and the Madrid City Council to generate a community of practices in the field of public participation. Today we are back with Professor Antonio Lopez Peláez, co-director of the participatory group. Good morning, Marta. As always, a pleasure. We're here at UNED dedicated to you all listening to us. Thank you for listening. And today we have a special guest, Bosco Valero from the Huelva School of Social Economy. How are you, Bosco? Hello, how are you, Marta Antonio? Good morning. Today we're going to discuss a topic that I've been pursuing and I'm incredibly curious about it because it seems to me to be a key area to generate participation, as there's a real interest reflected in people, which are the energy communities. We're going to look a little bit at the participatory dynamics in the sector and above all, how they're being carried out and implemented through Transición Rural by people like Bosco Valero. So Bosco, tell me, how did you approach the combination of something that apparently seems like it could be like water and oil, it doesn't quite fit together, which is the energy sector and participation? Yes, that's right. It's like an oxymoron, the energy sector and citizen participation, but yes, it is possible. And in fact, it's something that dates way back from the energy cooperative movement, which has a long history in Europe, but also in Spain. Energy cooperatives have existed, especially in the Valencian region, for almost a century. But in modern times now, let's say it's true that energy cooperatives, understanding cooperatives as spaces for participation and decision-making on fundamental issues and strategic sectors for the life of any person, well, it's the energy cooperatives in Europe that also drove those changes in the European directives that make it possible for us today, for example, in Spain, with the transposition of 2 directives to have legislation adapted to what energy communities are as spaces for participation and decision-making for neighbors, local businesses, and also for city councils to make decisions about the type of energy they want and to study their own energy demand and make decisions about the energy they need for a good, dignified, and sustainable life anywhere they want. And it's true that I live in a rural area, and to share the personal anecdote or circumstance, I came to these issues a few years ago, like everybody else, through a run-in with the electricity system, with the energy market, which made me aware that there were certain issues that were generating situations of vulnerability both in urban and rural areas, and that energy companies were behaving in an opaque and unclear manner. And from there I came to energy cooperativism, and from there to energy communities, which are, in my view, as a worker at the School of Social Economy, the best model for a cooperative, a consumer cooperative, because they're spaces for participation and decision making and horizontal spaces. I find it super interesting, Bosco. Thank you for being with us, because for those listening to us, participation is often related only to assemblies, participation with the administrations, political participation, but of course all the spaces that impact us are subjects because we are citizens. And of course, in the case, for example, of rural areas, I have experienced it in the province of Segovia and other places. The banking crisis led to a financial exclusion of many towns that were left not only without an ATM or a bank, but without anything. You can find yourself excluded by decisions that make it impossible for you to participate or develop your activities, which has long-term consequences on your personal life, the life of communities, collective life, business life, on the capacity for entrepreneurship. If you are financially or energetically excluded, how do you design participation? What participatory experiences have you had in this field? Well, I know firsthand an experience in which I participated first personally, then professionally as a trainer, and it is the energy community of Arroyomolinos de León, which is a town in Sierra de Huelva. There was a lot of curiosity about these issues, and when we realized, we started working there with a small energy office. We helped neighbors understand their electricity bill. We helped them with energy efficiency. We realized that there was also a local energy culture there, rooted in the territory, especially among women and the elderly women in the area. They had much greater knowledge about energy than many other places, and that's when we said, hey, we can promote an energy community here. And today, after strengthening many ties with many organizations like Greenpeace, the School of Social Economy, and the Andalusian Fund for Municipalities for International Solidarity, at the School of Social Economy we supported a training process, a participatory process where residents decided on the energy community model they wanted to implement. They drafted the corporate purpose and considered the archetypes of members so that no person, no household would be excluded from joining the energy community. And we did all of this in a participatory collective manner with open dynamic training sessions and a flexible methodology where everyone can participate and contribute to the collective construction of this energy community, which has its own legal status, a consumer cooperative under the Andalusian Cooperatives Law. These examples are amazing, aren't they? Where do these initiatives come from? You approach each other through these processes like, hey, create a community, or is it the other way around? I mean, there's a need to create that community and they call you to facilitate or channel that process? My question is, who comes up with the idea? Yes, that's right. In the personal anecdote I told earlier, we ended up becoming a cooperative member of Somos Energía, which is currently the largest renewable energy marketing cooperative in Spain and Europe. And Somos Energía has a unique feature. It invests heavily in training its members. So from there, I'm talking about almost 10 years ago, we trained about or built capacities about the energy market, the electricity market, a lot of things that empowered us from the perspective of energy sovereignty, and we promoted this energy community in Arroyomolinos, and both my colleague Rosario and I had our own lives and our professional developments. I'm a trainer, she's an architect working primarily on housing renovations in rural areas. In the end, the Social Economy Schools Foundation turned its attention to us because it also realized that the energy sector was a key strategic sector for cooperative work, and that energy communities offered an opportunity with new generation energy cooperatives, smaller, more local, more capable of generating participatory processes, and that's where we came in with our background. And finally, the School of Social Economy has opened a community transformation office, a program of the Ministry of Ecological Transition to promote energy communities. But there are 7 throughout Andalusia, and one of them is MRECOP, the OTC of the School of Social Economy. What do we do? We promote energy communities, we provide webinars, group consulting on demand, and we also have an ad hoc training program for energy communities for promoter groups throughout Andalusia with in-person and online training which runs from March to September. What I'm seeing is that everything you're doing is phenomenal. You're managing to have a set of tools that you put at the disposal of people to participate, to raise awareness. This thing about having a toolbox is very fashionable in our field. It's normally said in English, a participatory toolbox, right? Ultimately, what you're giving is more capacity to citizens to become more aware of their lives. This is very interesting to me because energy is inherent to our way of life. Our ecological footprint, the way we manage our resources, is, let's put it this way, the protagonists of our lives. And in that sense, I believe your work increases the democratic and civic awareness of people that participate. But speaking of these participatory tools you've developed, what specifics can you tell us have been most interesting or that are most in demand by the people who work for you? Well, perhaps just like one of the questions we're often asked, because you can imagine that when we do outreach, a promotion for the Cooperative Energy Classroom, for instance, which is a training program at the School of Social Economy, we get all kinds of profiles, so we often need to clarify some of the underlying concepts. Some people think that an energy community is simply collective self-consumption. 4 people get together and set up a collective installation and we all benefit from it. Well, that's not an energy community, it's collective self-consumption. Collective self-consumption is the activity and the energy community is the concept. Also, it has a legal status. So, what is the energy demand of this neighborhood? What is the energy demand of this town? Those are the parameters under which we encourage groups that come to us from anywhere to get involved and to generate participatory processes that we already know how they work, right? The information process after generating deliberative spaces for collective knowledge construction, and then those become decision-making spaces with different layers, different tools, which can be through cooperative governance, right? There has to be a governing council, there has to be an assembly, and we rely heavily on other companies. For instance, here in Andalucía, we collaborate a lot with Pasos Participación when we need a 4 or 5 hour intensive workshop to create a network of energy communities in Andalucía. We call them to lead these workshops. They are collective creation workshops. I'm thinking that within an energy community, there are also conflicts and conflicting interests among all the actors involved, both citizens and the administrations and companies in the territory. So you really have a very powerful task here to build consensus. Yes, the energy communities we are seeing as most powerful throughout Spain are led by people who were already very active in other previous participatory processes and who saw energy as a strategic element in which they had to get involved, because we are at a crucial moment for, well, we all know what happened that summer when electricity bills increased tenfold, 20-fold, and they thought we couldn't be in the hands of those large companies manipulating the electricity and the energy market for their own benefit. So that's the great potential of energy communities. Those people who are already participating in other spaces such as the ecologist movement or renewable energy marketing cooperatives. The Somener Guide is a great ally, but there are many more energy cooperatives in Spain, such as Boyener in the Basque Country. In fact, Boyener has a guide developed for promoting energy communities through participation, putting the entire focus on participation. It's wonderful. And since there are already several marketing cooperatives in Spain, usually one or more with registered offices in each autonomous community, they are grouped in Unión Renovables, which is also a participatory space where marketing cooperatives and now also energy communities, generally smaller, can share, build, develop this entire new transition model, which is what we aspire to. That's really fascinating to hear. Thank you so much. We thought it was very important to have one of these radio programs about this, and then maybe if you have a moment, we can invite you to participate in a workshop, I'm sure, which can also be posted on the participatory project website on these topics. Just let us know. But in the area of energy communities, we already had a program on alternative currencies. There are many areas of our life that we usually see from the outside, but that must be at the center of our concerns, and the energy community is one of them. Thank you very much, Bosco. And thank you for taking the time to be with us. Thank you very much. Keep up the amazing work.